Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. The time is 11:01 and I call this meeting to order. Mr. Saeed, can you please read the notice of the public meeting?
Chairwoman, this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission's 2025 annual meeting schedule. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of the meeting was provided to the Asbury Park Press, Bergen Record, Courier Post, Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times on December 12, 2024. The agenda and information regarding the in-person meeting and the ability to live stream was also posted on the CRC website. The meeting time and location has also been posted on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and with the Office of the Secretary of the State.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Del Cid-Coso,
Present.
Commissioner Mapp,
Present.
Commissioner Nash,
Present.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Present.
Chairwoman Wayne.
Present.
We now have a quorum. The first order of business is for the Commission to go into executive session to discuss legal matters and litigation and investigation updates. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. We believe the executive session should take about 2 hours.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we go into executive session.
Second. Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid-Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to go into executive session? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of going into executive session say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. So as Mr. Saeed noted, we expect the executive session to last approximately 2 hours. We will leave the live stream running during that time for anybody who is in the room. Staff will not be able to answer any questions about the items that are up for consideration today. But we can expect to resume the public session at approximately 1:05. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome back. The time is 1:21 and we will resume the public portion of this meeting. Mr. Saeed, can you please announce the next agenda item?
Next up on the agenda is approving the minutes of both the Commission's open and executive sessions held on March 18, 2025. The minutes have been shared with the members of the Commission prior to this meeting.
Thank you. If there are no edits from the commissioners, I will ask if there is a motion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Del Cid-Coso moves to approve the meeting minutes from March 18th.
I second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the March 18th meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is the Chair's report.
All right, so first I want to start off by acknowledging that next week the Commission will turn 4 years old. For the last 4 years, under the leadership of Governor Phil Murphy, New Jersey has been a national leader in taking unregulated operations that lived more or less in the shadows and turning them into a legitimate, regulated, above-ground industry. And we did so in a way that promotes diversity and inclusion, meaningful access to economic opportunities, and true collaboration with the public. I want to thank my fellow commissioners, NJ-CRC staff, and staff at the Office of the Governor for their hard work and commitment to these efforts. As chair of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, I remain committed to the Commission's values of equity, safety, and transparency, and to working to preserve the integrity of this agency. It is not lost on me that there are some individuals who would prefer to see an opaque system in which competition is minimized and favors are traded behind closed doors. but the law requires that we operate as a public body, and so we do, under leadership that understands the importance of transparency and properly managing expectations. And so we at the commission will continue to do all we can to keep New Jersey at the forefront of sensible and equitable oversight of the cannabis industry. As the NJ-CRC enters its 5th year, I'm excited for what comes next, seeing even more businesses realize the American dream and get to hang their shingles. So happy birthday to the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission, and congratulations to everyone on all that we've achieved together. I now want to turn to some industry reminders. Applications for cannabis consumption areas are open. Social equity businesses, diversely owned businesses, and all micro businesses social equity, diversely owned, and micro business retailers can now apply for cannabis consumption area endorsement. All other retailers will be able to apply for consumption area endorsement starting July 2nd. And I also want to remind everyone that there is a scam still targeting our cannabis businesses. Scammers are contacting employees and luring them into sending money to unauthorized financial accounts. Scammers are often pretending to be a manager at the business or claim to have spoken with business owners and managers, and then direct the employee to have large sums of cash deposited into cryptocurrency ATMs, or even drop off boxes of cash in new unfamiliar locations. So to our business owners and managers, please, please, please ensure that your staff are properly informed and trained on how to properly log, secure, and deposit money into the proper business accounts. Our businesses have lost thousands of dollars to these scams, and we want to make sure that everyone is on notice. Excuse me. So employees, please stay vigilant. If you have questions about whether or not you are being directed to deposit money into unauthorized accounts, contact your manager or business owner directly. Now, on a lighter note, I have invited our friends and colleagues at the New Jersey Business Action Center and the New Jersey Economic Development Authority to come and share updates on the successes of the Cannabis Training Academy and cannabis grant programs. Both the Business Action Center and Economic Development Authority have been incredible partners to the NJ-CRC and work tirelessly to stand up programs offering technical assistance and funding to our cannabis businesses. These programs have been examples of how states can show support to the budding cannabis industry. And together with the NJ-CRC, our 3 agencies have worked collaboratively to make New Jersey a national model of how to build a cannabis industry from scratch in a way that embodies fair and meaningful access to anyone who wants to participate. So we'll first start by hearing from the New Jersey Business Action Center. With us today are Penny Wild, Deputy Executive Director of the Business Action Center, and Tauheed Chappelle, Executive Director of the Cannabis Training Academy. Please come forward and share a few wonderful remarks and updates about the helpful resource that is the Cannabis Training Academy.
Good afternoon. Chairman Wainu, Commissioners, NJ-CRC Executive Director Riggs, amazing staff who, without your assistance, we would not be able to do the work that we do. And esteemed guests, good afternoon. So on behalf of the Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State Tahisha Ray and Melanie Willoughby, our Executive Director of the Business Action Center, thank you for the opportunity to provide this update. My name is Penny Wild. I'm Deputy Director of the New Jersey Business Action Center, which I'll share more about in a moment. We're going to have some slides that can just kind of run in the background. And with me is Tauheed Chappelle, our amazing Executive Director of the Cannabis Training Academy. And that is housed in the Department of State in the Business Action Center. Again, our overview shares a little bit about what we do. I can just go ahead and run that because everybody can read that. I'm just going to talk about as background. The NJ-CRC granted NJ BAP privilege in 2022 to provide technical assistance to entrepreneurs who wish to establish legal licensed cannabis businesses in the state, in the adult use market. And currently, cannabis entrepreneurs are restricted from accessing federally funded services that are typically available to regular businesses. So if you want to open a gas station, a trucking company, a variety of different companies, you can go to something called the Small Business Development Center or SCORE. There are different organizations. But because cannabis is illegal at the federal level, then anybody that has federal funding cannot provide services to these budding entrepreneurs. And what we know is that well-trained entrepreneurs run safer businesses, they create jobs, uplift local economies, especially in impact zones hardest hit by past cannabis prohibition. So with thousands of entrepreneurs statewide interested in building legitimate, safe, and successful businesses in the industry, state officials saw the need to provide the right guidance, smart governance, and economic empowerment. With the essential education and direction, these new entrepreneurs face unfamiliar regulatory requirements, being deceived by predatory bad actors, which we just heard a little bit more about, and risk costly mistakes that could set them and their communities back. We know that every major government initiative that changes lives, whether it's public education, workforce development, or small business support, exists because smart investment today leads to stronger communities and a thriving economy tomorrow. And the CTA is just one example where providing no-cost education to businesses can create a sizable return in sales tax revenue that can provide a variety of public services. We've launched the first 4 levels of the Cannabis Training Academy in October of 2024, and we're pleased to announce that as of today, 5 months later, more than 1,200 people are registered and going through the content. So they can learn about the process of getting a license, opening their doors, and building a sustainable business. We host live question and answer sessions with our qualified instructors where participants can gain valuable insights. And the program, we've been told, is the largest government-sponsored technical assistance curriculum in the country. And as other states start to create theirs, they're reaching out on a regular basis to find out how you did it. Can we hire your instructors? We need to do this now. So it's quickly becoming a national model. So what do they learn? They learn all of these wonderful things. We have lots of courses, online learner-paced modules. They're designed to help entrepreneurs decide whether cannabis business is even right for them. The most important piece that we knew needed to be addressed is this business right for me? Before you spend all your money, before you make any investment. Courses include everything from business plan development, aspects of cannabis licensing application, and specific documents that they need to have for review and consideration. So we created these modules with qualified, vetted instructors and mentors who are currently supporting, consulting, teaching, or working within the cannabis industry as successful licensed business operators. I'm going to turn it over to Tahiti to keep on going.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you, everybody from the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and everyone who is joining us today for our public meeting. Just to continue what Penny has been saying is that, this program, again, online, no cost. For those that are watching on Zoom, you can join in and register at any time at cta.nj.gov. We have had extreme success with our program, and this opportunity here is to provide a progress report on how our academy is going. Like Penny mentioned, we have over 1,200 registered students. We've had more than a dozen different webinars providing supplemental information around the cannabis supply chain system, including our Legacy to Legal webinar series. And we are continuing to program the academy, where students who finish the 10 levels that we offer will be able to generate a certificate of completion that will be able to use in their NJ-CRC application process should they decide to apply for a license. Other things that we wanted to include in terms of the offerings of the program is that not only do you get a mixture of PowerPoint presentations and instructor-led videos, you are also able to download supplemental documents and all of the scripts associated with our courses. We're trying to be as accessible and available to all types of learning, and so that you will make sure you have all the information available if you're considering going for an application. I just want to also mention too that in support of the governor's call for diversity and equity in the cannabis industry, our student body reflects the intention of the people in the populations that we're trying to help, those that have been impacted the most by the war on drugs. Some data here that you see on the slideshows that the top three representations of people who self-identify, most of our students identify as Black, second population is white, and the third population is Latino. One thing I'll also say is that we are working to convert the entire Cannabis Training Academy courses in Spanish for Spanish speakers, and so we really want to address the fact that Spanish is the second most spoken language in the state, so we are working to convert all of our courses there. Black women continue to lead the representation of our student population with more than 51% representation of Black women. We'd like to thank the sororities that probably were circulating our program to the Divine Nine, so thank you for those. And then also we have a pretty good diverse representation of student populations with some concentration in North Jersey counties, and then in South Jersey, my own county of Camden, and reflects on the high population of student representations too. So we are trying to be statewide. We're trying to reach everybody who's 21 years and older to participate in this program, and we are making really good progress in terms of our representation. And so just sharing a little bit of our accomplishments, like Penny said, we have done things like produce our legal webinars. We have continued to do nearly weekly or bi-weekly instructor Q&As where students can talk to our instructors, go deeper into the course materials and have their questions answered by people who have, like on a license or a consultant on license, they get deeper expertise. And then all of this combined is providing more than dozens of hours of content and education material for anyone who's interested in the cannabis industry in New Jersey. And for those that are here and those that are watching, I just want to also underline the fact that even if you have a license currently, if you're an operator, the Cannabis Training Academy is a great tool of education for your employees. If you want your employees to understand kind of the blood, sweat, and tears that you went through to get your license, this is a great opportunity to establish that level of education. For those that are in the process of applying for a license, we provide so much more information that will probably help you, inform you of the next steps in your license journey. And if you're just a person who's interested in understanding the cannabis industry, in New Jersey, the Cannabis Training Academy brings a lot of supplemental information so that you can determine whether you want to be a worker, an ancillary service provider, or actually apply for a license itself. So we bring a very comprehensive, holistic approach to our training and education. And again, cta.nj.gov for those that are interested in signing up. We've been also hosting focus groups with our students. We want to get direct feedback from students to make sure that we are meeting the needs of people who would consider themselves entrepreneurs, consider themselves operators, or consider themselves just curious-minded folks. And so I won't read the entire post here, but as you can see in some of these slides, we have gotten really good feedback on the quality of our program. People feel empowered to make good business decisions, and they feel informed that they are on the right path, or they feel informed that they may have to change their path, but they've been grateful for our assistance in this education. And then one thing I wanted to underline too, for those that find themselves already in the process where you've got your conditional or you've got awarded your annual, that there are still a lot of gems that you may not know of, even if you go through our Cannabis Training Academy as well. So I implore those that are already owners, check us out. You will learn some gems. And if you think it's appropriate, send it to your workers as well, because they're definitely going to learn a lot about the industry and the licensing application process too. And so what's next, as we continue to finalize the rest of the program, get our certificate of completion up and running for all the students that complete all 10 levels. We're also doing Spanish translation of the entire site. We're also going to be adding badging curriculum too that helps workers get their badging process, their badging education completed as well at no cost. And we are also, like Penny mentioned, we are a national model. We have advised with other states like Rhode Island, Minnesota, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, and even Colorado have reached out to us asking us, how did we do this? And what does it take to provide for something like this? And personally, for me, as someone who has lived in 5 different states, has been a medical marijuana patient for more than a dozen years, and has been a bud tender myself for a dispensary in Philadelphia. This educational program is beyond the most comprehensive. It's by far the biggest, and in my opinion, maybe some bias, it is the most valuable in the country. So we hope that people enjoy all the work that we've been putting in, because this level of education is unmatched, and you're going to learn a whole lot. So I think that might be a lot. Oh, so last thing is, as always, you can find us at cta.nj.gov. 10 levels, 60 courses, go at your own pace. We have some of the best instructors in the country, 28 instructors. When we did a call out for instructors to help us build this cannabis training academy, we had 250 people apply for an instructor position, and we chose 28 of them. So you really are getting some of the best people teaching the best levels across the country. So with that being said, Penny, I'll pass it back to you.
We are complete. Thank you, and congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you very much. And congratulations to you all on that. I'm looking for if any of the commissioners have a quick question that they want to ask. Commissioner Dustin.
I don't have a question, it's more of a statement. I just wanted to commend you for the hard work you guys have been putting in the last 2 years. The work that you guys are doing is very important, because we know that many applicants that came to us at the beginning didn't have the funding to hire an attorney or a lobbying firm to do this type of work. And you guys are, you created something from the ground up. In 2 years, you were able to put this together. So I applaud you and your team for doing this. And I hope that you continue this type of mentorship that is helping many, many applicants. The second thing, I'm very thrilled, and thank you for translating your documents into Spanish. I think it goes a long way. We have a pool of applicants, and Wesley has been working with them that are Latino, and I'm glad that you guys are doing that outreach as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Vice Chair Delgado.
Hi, Penny, how you doing?
I'm good.
I see that you have 40 videos here, and you have the 28 instructors. Are these instructions live, or are they all on video? Or is it a combination?
They've all been recorded, so they're pre-recorded. There are scripts that go along with them. So we designed everything for visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. So you can read the supplemental materials, you can read the script, you can listen and actually print it out for yourself.
And the second question, which I think is a little more important, is budget season. It's coming up here in the state. Are we okay with the academy going forward, 25, 26 budget?
We are in the process of working that through, so that's where we are.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I have a statement. I would like to echo Commissioner Del Cicoso's statement. I think you are doing a tremendous job. And I just want to recount a conversation that I had with a public commenter at one of the seat hearings. And she was saying that she needed resources to be able to understand the forms and how to apply. And so it was really nice to be able to just refer her to CTA. I'm very proud of the work that you've done, and I commend you and I thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You have something?
Oh, thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate it. To Commissioner Nelson's mention about cost savings, we are doing just some soft surveying of our instructors, and we want to talk about the value of this program. Many of these instructors obviously consult on the side, and they offer different types of consulting services and charges. But because this program is no cost, you don't have to pay consultants directly for this initial amount of training and education. Some of these consultants charge well, as many of you know, north of $900 an hour. And a lot of those instructors who actually do charge that too. So you're bringing a lot of caliber people with a lot of information and background, and you're saving a lot of money by going through these levels, because then you're not starting on square zero, you're starting on square five with those questions. You feel informed that you don't have to ask a lawyer about the laws, you now know the law, you now know the rules and regulations. And so I just want to point out, thanks for mentioning that, because this is a huge cost savings for anybody who gets involved in this work.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again to you both and your teams for all the great work and the wonderful achievements that you've been able to secure thus far.
Thank you.
Well, and thanks to also to the CRC staff. And everyone has just pitched in, reviewed modules, made sure that everything is on point, and so you're our partner, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate you too.
Appreciate
Thank you very much. All right, and now to round out today's chair's report, we'll hear from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, here to share insights into the progress of the $20 million grants awarded to businesses. We have Ty Cooper, Chief Community Development Officer, Jenna Jones, Senior Community Development Officer, and Aubrey Flanagan, Senior Advisor in Community Development. Ladies, the floor is yours.
You have a strong all-women team here.
Just turn on the microphone.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'll repeat that. We have a strong all-women team here, so super excited about that. You just heard from our colleagues over at the New Jersey Business Action Center. And before I jump on the EDI, I want to quickly say the success we have, the work we've been able to do has been part and parcel, hand in hand with BAC. Without BAC, without funding for BAC, we cannot do what we do. So I just want to stress the necessity of the partnership, the necessity of the work that they're doing that's so critical and free, but it is a partnership that has really helped us to thrive. So just kudos to Penny and the entire team over at BAC. Now let's start on EDA. So, Madam Chairwoman, thank you so much for having us, and welcome Commissioner Mapp, glad to have you here. Quickly gonna go over the programs that we have at EDA, and again, this is gonna be a tag team effort. As you all know, we received over $20 million for a pilot program to start up New Jersey's recreational cannabis grant program for license holders for their startup and operational costs during the first 3 years of operation. This is unheard of. No other state has done what New Jersey has done. We're incredibly grateful to our governor, Governor Murphy, the legislature, already shouted out NJ back, but also equally as important is CRC. And I have to call out Maria and Charles, because we spent, I don't know how many meetings with Maria and Charles going over painstaking information about what resources were needed and why. And so Maria, I appreciate the work that you guys have done. But again, it's great to have partnerships like this. So we mentioned earlier, it's $20 million that we received, and we talked about New Jersey having the largest grants in the nation, and we did. Jen is gonna go over joint ventures, and Aubrey's gonna go over seed equity, but just to give you a sense of the number, we were able to award grants of $250,000 to cannabis businesses that already had site control and municipal approval, which can be incredibly hard to obtain. And then for seed equity, and we heard you loud and clear from the CRC, we heard it loud and clear from the audience as well, that especially when it comes to we have a seed equity program for social equity clients, right? Social equity. For social equity clients, where again, this is a grant for $150,000. And so when we say New Jersey was at the forefront of this market, rolling ahead, we really and truly were, and our names for our cannabis grants are incredibly cheesy, and that is on purpose. So I'm gonna turn it over to Jenna to go over our joint ventures program.
So, hello, good afternoon. I guess it's good afternoon, right? So I'm gonna talk about the joint ventures grant. The joint ventures grant was the first grant that we launched. Again, we have a commitment to diversity, and we wanted to align this grant with, the commission's recognition of social equity. So the joint ventures grant was for $250,000. It was focused more on businesses that were a little bit farther along. So there were 2 prerequisites that you had to have before you applied, which was the business had to have site control and municipal approval at time of application. We did a 40% set aside for social equity applicants. We did a 5% set aside for impact zones. There were leadership and educational requirements. We needed a tax clearance certificate. Businesses must be formed after March 9th, 2020, and you could either have a conditional or annual license to apply for the grant. and less than 50 full-time employees. Thank you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the joint ventures applicant pool. This is something that we're really, really proud of. So just to break it down by the numbers, this is also self-reported. We had 163 applications submitted. We awarded 48 grants, and I think that we were oversubscribed by like 9:36, and the application opened at 9 a.m. So, so you had to be quick.
Quick and thorough and complete.
So we had 91 applications from minority-owned business enterprises, so that's 56%. We had 72 applications from women-owned business enterprises, which is 44%. And we had 43 applications from both minority and women-owned businesses at 26%. So that was a pretty good representation. Also, we received applications from all 21 counties in New Jersey. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so I'm going to do the joint ventures applicant award breakdown. So we had 48 applications approved. The applicants self-selected as 27 of the approvals are minority-owned business enterprises, 20 were women-owned business enterprises, and 12 approvals were both minority and women-owned business enterprises. And if you look at the slide before, the percentages were pretty much, right where for percentages, we're pretty much right where we were with the application. So it did reflect a very diverse applicant pool and a very diverse award pool. 14, we had businesses that were located in 14 of the 21 counties. And just to do an overview of the joint ventures grantees, we had 48 awards. Again, these were businesses that were much farther along. They had already, secured site control and municipal approval. So they were expected to open pretty quickly. So we had 46 grants that were awarded. The total funding awarded was 11.5 million. The total grant funding distributed, it has been 8.8 million for the joint ventures. And then just to give you a breakdown of the 46 grant awardees, we have 29 that are open and operating. We're pretty proud of that. We're going to an opening tomorrow, actually, so that it'll be 30. So we have 22 dispensaries, 3 manufacturers, 3 cultivators, and 1 testing lab.
And the one thing I'll just add on to that is that the one thing I will add on to that is that several of these businesses have said, but for this support from EDA, from the state, from CRC, they never would have been able to open. So we talk about funding being impactful and driving our economy. That's how you do it. And that's what's happened with the funding that we received for all of these cannabis businesses.
And then just one last thing, in terms of the 250,000, we did it in 2 disbursements. So the first 100,000 came at application when the applicant approved site control and municipal approval. The second 150,000 came once businesses were open and operating, because we do recognize that just because you open a business doesn't mean that you're going to bring in profit from day one, especially this business, because it's so capital intensive. So we wanted to reserve a portion of the funds to help businesses kind of get started when they open. I think that's it for me, so I will pass it to my colleague, Aubrey.
Thank you, Jenna. So I'm excited to talk about the Seed Equity Grant, and this was designed exclusively for our social equity applicants. These grants provide $150,000 in funding to help our early stage cannabis entrepreneurs with our startup and operational costs, similarly to the Joint Ventures Grant. A little bit different, this grant, you were allowed to have no site control. So you could, and a conditional license. To ensure that these businesses were set up for long-term success, we also required the completion of a technical assistance program. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Eligible criteria mirrored our broader equity goals, and applicants needed to demonstrate leadership or educational qualifications, secure their tax clearance at the time of their application, and show that their business was formed before March 9th, 2020. As I said, they also had to hold either a conditional or annual license from the NJ-CRC and employ less than 50 full-time employees. Next slide, please. So now we're gonna talk about our Cannabis Technical Assistance Program. This was before the NJ-CRC program was created. So we went, the NJ-EDA went to a competitive public bidding process, got in a few applications and scored all of them, and landed on Amsterdam University, which is and still is a pioneering national leader in cannabis education, and they actually tapped into the New Jersey instructor market and the champions for cannabis on the ground, boots on the ground here in NJ. So we delivered and created a 9-week hybrid, so online as well as in person, NJ-focused entrepreneurship training, covering business management, financial planning, compliance, and risk mitigation. In this Cannabis Technical Assistance Program, we offer digital resources, virtual classes, in-person workshops, expert one-to-one coaching, as well as networking opportunities. And I will say that the coaching piece was really, really prominent in our program, because if you can imagine going through one of the hardest things and processes of your life, that you had someone who went through it as well on tap to help you at any point that you got stuck. So truly, if you ever talk to one of our graduates, they'll definitely send their flowers to their coach, who were able to really give them the advice that's necessary to be successful. All in all, the program had 100% graduation rate. Everyone got in their final exams, their midterm exams, their quizzes, and met with their coach as needed. So that is a really fantastic stat that we have to say for this program. Next slide, Leslie. Here is a quote from one of our graduates. As Ty was saying, if not but for this money, they wouldn't have made it over the finish line. So this is just a quote from Tahir Johnson. He is a grant recipient and the owner of Simply Pure, which is located in Trenton. He gave us a fantastic quote during the graduation about how influential this money was to really get him over the finish line, and he has been a community fixture in Trenton since then. So congratulations to Tahir. And next slide, Leslie. So here's our applicant pool. Similarly to joint ventures, we got applications from all over the state that were very diverse. So we had 110 applications submitted. Similarly to joint ventures, it was oversubscribed very quickly. It was very popular, and it was done on a first come, first completed basis. 82 applications were minority-owned businesses and 37 were women-owned. 33 were both. The county breakdown is out of 110 applications, we received submissions from 14 counties, so a widespread applicant net. The award breakdown reflects our applicant breakdown, just showing that it is indicative of the individuals and businesses that applied. The awards reflect that. We made 48 awards, and 36 approvals went to minority-owned business enterprises, 10 to women-owned, and 9 to both. Out of the 110 applications, the submissions were received from 14 counties. Here are our outcomes for seed equity. So again, we had 48 grants awarded. The grant funding in total was 7.2 million, and we've distributed 4.8 million in so far. So of those 49 grantees, 9 are open and operating, 7 are dispensaries, 1's a manufacturer, and 1's a cultivator. And we have many in our queue, in our pipeline right now, working with NJ-EDA staff to get their final disbursements as they go through the process. So thank you. That was the end of our presentation. I'm passing it back to Ty.
That was good, we're good.
Thank you very much. Great to hear the wonderful breakdown about the awardees and hearing, that the numbers still growing of those who are opening every day. So that's wonderful. Do any of the commissioners have any quick questions for our partners at the Economic Development Authority? Vice Chair Delgado, use the microphone, please.
Cooper, we'd let you go.
I knew it, it's okay, I'm ready for it.
Sai, just a quick question.
Yes.
The 29 joint ventures that are open, 9 the seed that we've done. Have we done follow-ups like 6 months down the line, a year down the line? How are they doing? That's what I'm at. That's the question.
So we're going
With
to.
the rubber meets the road, how are they?
No, 100%, and I think the hardest part for them was actually getting open. That's something that all of our team acknowledged, like there are so many hurdles to so many of these businesses getting open, so when they do get their second disbursement or their first disbursement, it's after they've been open and operating. So we were intentional about how we were able to fund them, not just doing one sum upfront, but making sure we spread it across the lifetime of them being open. After they are open, we do end up going back. We've gone to a couple of them already just to make sure that their finances are good, to make sure that they're open, they're operating. That's something that we'll continue to do and continue to track them for the next 3 years.
That's good. I think from my point of view, I would really, I can't speak for the rest of the commissions, but I would really like to know, how they're doing during those 3 years. Are they still in business? Are they still?
100%.
That's the bottom line.
No, definitely. So, I can say that we've done site visits at, all 29 that are open. They also, talk to us about, some of the issues that they're encountering, how to get traffic in through their businesses. So that's kind of the concerns right now, but all of them are operating and open and they're eager to keep going.
And none of them have closed yet.
No.
So there we go. That's the good thing.
That's good.
But we will keep track of them again for those next 3 years, because within the first year, that's when we know most businesses don't succeed, is within that first year. So we're following them for the next 3 years. And again, we were intentional about doing grants, not loans for this one. We may have something coming down the pipeline, but for the very first pilot program, we wanted to be intentional about grants that couldn't be clawed back.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And I can definitely confirm for Vice Chair Delgado that all of the commissioners are very interested in making sure that that our businesses are able to succeed and thrive. So absolutely, I mean, the commissioner, Vice Chair Delgado already knows, we have set as one of our our long-term goals for this industry. By 2030, we want to see at least, I believe it was 30% of our businesses be open for at least 2 years. And so the resources at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority and the New Jersey Business Action Center are, I believe, going to directly contribute to those numbers because of the valuable resources and tools that you're offering our business entrepreneurs. Those tools are going to be, are going to give them the power to actually keep their doors open and actually succeed. So would love to, for our agencies to continue to partner together and make sure that we do that long-term follow-up to make sure that our programs are working as intended.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Nash.
Hi, I was curious, does the joint ventures grant or even the seed equity have, do the applicants have to demonstrate financial need, or is there a cap on the AGI aside from the conditional licensing?
No, so for, there wasn't anything that you had to showcase that there was a need. The way that we did this, and I'll make sure that my colleagues can talk to this, is that we did our disbursements in sets of 2 for joint ventures, and then in sets of 4, as far as there was 4 benchmarks you had to reach prior to getting your disbursement. We did have an educational component that they had to fulfill, but recognizing, again, this is an incredibly new landscape. Nobody knew what the costs were gonna be other than exorbitant. And so our entire process was to level the playing field, understanding that on especially the social equity side, that there were gonna be some challenges to getting funding. And that's what we heard across the board from folks that were very well financed to folks that didn't have any money. There needs to be additional resources that are always coming in to help them sustain. But we didn't put any type of barricades or blockades as far as like, show us that you cannot do this or that there's a true need. If we do a loan, they'd have to have collateral, obviously, but for a grant program, we kept it to basically you're putting the application forward and here's the benchmarks that you have to reach before you even get any of our funding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Any other Commissioner Delsey?
Not a question, but just a comment. I just want to commend you and your team again for working with us in partnership with Commissioner Parker and I as members of the Access to Capital Work Group. But we do have a new member for that committee, and that's our Vice Chair, Sam Delgado. So you can definitely look out for more emails and outreach from our committee. So again, thank you for always being a great partner with us. And I know that we had so many conversations when we were putting this together, but you and your team definitely did like most of the work. So again, thank you for everything you've done. And this is a pilot, so hopefully we do have some success in these businesses so that we can make this a permanent program down the road.
Absolutely. And I will just say this about Commissioner Maria, we were both pregnant, I think around the same time. So in addition to helping me out cannabis, she was also really great when I was going through my maternity leave. Nobody needed to hear that or care, but thank you.
Wonderful. Any further questions or comments from the board? No, thank you again very much to our partners at the EDA. And once again, thank you to both agencies for your commitment to helping our cannabis entrepreneurs realize their dreams. Now this concludes today's chair's report.
The next item on the agenda is the executive director's report.
Director Riggs, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I promise that my executive director's report won't be as long as the chair's. But thank you to the BAC for being here, and thank you to the EDA. These are great things. I can confirm that other states are looking to you guys for guidance. They talk about it all the time when me and other staff members get in meetings with other states. They talk about the good things that New Jersey's doing with the EDA program and also the BAC program. So congratulations to those people. It's really awesome. Now I'm going to get into my report. So updates on dispensary openings. We have more than 215 medical and recreational dispensaries open in all 21 counties. You'll see on the right hand side there, there's the recreational only dispensaries. We got some up there in North Jersey and then some in the southern part of the state and down the shore. As far as the licensing update goes, the total licenses approved as of March 25th, 2025. We have a little less than 2,900 that have been submitted. A little more than 2,200 have been approved. There are 140 applications that are currently under review in our Office of Licensing. 320 applications are pending resubmission following a cure, and 169 applications are currently under review in the Office of Compliance Investigations. Additional licenses update for recreational licenses approved as of March 27th of 2025. 1,581 conditionals, 438 conditional annual conversions, 242 annual licenses, 83 expanded alternative treatment centers, for a total of 348 operating licenses and medical permits in the state. And that's 4 years into this, so happy birthday to the CRC, as we have 348 operating businesses today, and after 4 years, that's pretty consistent with, if not better, than how other states rolled out their markets. Today, up for consideration and recommended to the board are 4 conditional annual conversion licenses, 7 annual licenses, 2 expanded alternative treatment centers, and 14 annual license renewals. As always, we'll give a patient and medical cannabis program update as of March 15th, 2025. The total number of patients are a little over 63,000. And we have 4,271 caregivers and a little over 1,500 doctors enrolled in the program. And I want to thank everybody that came to the medical roundtables and shared all the information that they shared with us to help guide us in setting forth some policy and setting up the rules for the medical cannabis program in the hopes that we can improve that program. And now I'm going to turn the floor over to our director of the largest unit in the CRC, Office of Compliance and Investigation, Director Paul Herbich, to talk a little bit about what his unit does for the CRC and give some updates on what he's seeing and other things. So, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Acting Executive Director. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I believe it's my first time at the big show, so honored to be here. As the Acting Executive Director said, my name is Paul Herbich. I'm the Director of our Office of Compliance and Investigations. Being that it is my first time here, I just want to give the audience a little bit of an idea of what we're doing in our shop. The shop is split into 2 separate units. One is our compliance unit, one is our investigations unit. Those 2 units are headed by 2 people I'd like to give a shout out to. Our supervisor of compliance, Kevin Healy, and our supervisor of investigations is James Garcia, and my job would not be possible without their guidance, so shout out to them and thank you to them. The compliance office currently has 17 compliance officers. Their job is to assist businesses in getting operational and then to monitor for continued compliance with the law and regulations, all of the licensees and permittees in the state. So that's all classes of license, testing laboratories, and all the medical permittees as well. Just for a little background, the investigations that are conducted last year, calendar year 2024, we received and completed investigations of 557 complaints. Thus far in 2025, we have 129 complaints received that are either finalized or under investigation currently. So, when you're shooting emails into the box, trying to get things taken care of, please understand we are reviewing and investigating everything that comes in. The other unit that I am responsible for is our investigations unit. Currently, there are 10 investigators in that unit. They are responsible for reviewing all the owners, managers, and employees for qualification to work in the industry. So that's reviewing all the criminal histories, all the financial histories. I like to break it down as compliance officers are responsible for making sure you maintain your qualification in the industry, while the investigators are responsible for determining if you are qualified to operate in the industry. Another thing that the investigators are responsible for is conducting investigations for all ownership changes, financial source agreements, and management services contracts. I want to touch on that as part of kind of my news of the day, because these are very important, especially with operators coming up on their 1 year and 2 year anniversaries and changes happening, bringing in financial sources and new investors. All of your ownership changes require board approval at a public board meeting, that would be a meeting such as this. All financial source agreements and management services contracts have been delegated to staff for approval. But again, before any transaction is finalized, approval has to be received, whether that be at a board meeting or through staff. If money is going to be changed hands in advance of receipt of approval, we have required that contracts must contain a clause that the money will be returned if approval by the CRC is not granted. This is incredibly important so that we know again that we're only allowing qualified individuals and entities to operate in this industry. Again, always better to ask for permission and forgiveness. That is the way we are operating. So please, please, please work with your investigator, work with your compliance officer to submit those types of contracts and changes in advance of execution and commencing those new agreements. Another hot topic of the day I'd like to touch on is our label and packaging approvals. Recently, we rolled out through the metric seed to sale system, another great partner of the state's, the ability to do all these packaging and labeling approvals through that metric system. So those are submitted by your manufacturers, your cultivators into the system. They're reviewed for potency, for ingredients, and then to ensure that the packages and labels are in conformance with the advertising and marketing regulations. Those are stated up there, NJ-CRC 1730-16.2 and .3. If you are a manufacturer, employee, cultivator, employee, you're not familiar with those sections, please review them because the number of products that we have to pulled up from the market and decline approval for because they don't comport with packaging and labeling regulations are more than I would expect and more than we would certainly like. We want diverse product, we want a competitive market, we want as much out there as we can possibly see, and not complying with those regulations is only holding up both patients and consumers from getting new products in the market. One thing I did also want to go back once for one moment. Is that flower packaging is passed through the system without initial review due to the way it's set up in the metric system. That does not mean that flower packaging is not required to comply with the regs, and we monitor through periodic audits that all packaging, including flower, is compliant with the regulations. So please ensure, again, flower, gummies, vapes, hopefully one day drinks, that everything is in compliance with the regulations. Last but not least for my portion, we are aware of the Secret Shopper program, obviously, that occurred. A news article came out a couple of weeks ago. It's run by a consumer advocacy group called Safely. They had coordinated with one of our licensed cannabis testing laboratories in the state to test flower that had previously been tested by other labs. As the article stated, and I'm sure you are all aware, there was some challenge to the accuracy of the potency on the labels and the accuracy of the microbials in the flower. We have, as a commission, requested additional information from that advocacy group in order to assist in our investigation. That request was declined by Safely, but we are currently undertaking our own investigation in coordination with the Department of the Health State Lab, looking into the testing practices of all of our testing laboratories, ensuring their compliance and the accuracy of the labels that you are purchasing at your dispensaries and retailers. So that covers my portion of the meeting, and I will pass it back to Chris Stewart.
Thank you, Director Irvish, and thank you for all the work that you do and all your staff members do. Obviously, it's not smoothly without you guys. So with that, Chair, I'm going to turn it back over to you. That concludes my director report.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Thank you, Director Irvish. Director Irvish, I do want to note, A, I hope this is not the first and the only time that you'll be joining us at the big show. And B, I want to underscore your point about the packaging and labeling. You know, our Director of Communications, Tony Blake, always says the fastest way to get through our process is to go through it right the first time. So businesses really should be making sure that they are submitting packaging and labels that are right the first time if they are so they are eager to get their products into the market. We certainly want to help them get their safe and regulated products in the market, but they gotta get it right the first time. They have to get it right, and the fastest way to get it is getting it right the first time. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs or Director Irvish? Hearing none, then we will move on.
The next item on the agenda are the consideration of the committee reports.
So for our committee reports, we'll start with the Public Engagement and Education Committee. I'll turn it over to, I believe it is Vice Chair, Commissioner Nash, to give the committee report for the Public Engagement and Education Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. So we're going to talk about SEEP, or social equity excise fees, which are imposed on cannabis cultivators, where that does not include medicinal cannabis cultivation. The fee is set by the commission and set by the commission in January of 2025, and the fee is $2.50 per ounce. The funds would be used for investments in social equity initiatives. The Commission's Public Engagement and Education Committee held hearings on February 20th, 25th, and 26th to solicit recommendations from the public on how these CPs should be appropriated. And we are currently working on a report to compile the recommendations and summarize it for the legislature. Under the law, the governor and the legislature, through the annual appropriations process, have the sole authority to allocate or distribute revenues generated from the excise fee. The commission's role, as described in statute, is to provide recommendations to the governor and the legislature on how those revenues should be spent, and those recommendations come from the public's feedback at those hearings. The committee has submitted recommendation reports to the governor and the legislature since 2022, and recommendations gathered from public hearings included these initiatives. All of the recommendation reports can be found on our website on the reports page, and I encourage those interested to take a look at them. The 2026 detailed budget recommendations include appropriations for SEEP funds as set forth in this slide. Department of Corrections to support purchase of community service grants. There's restorative justice initiatives for in education, the NJ-CRC to support restorative and transformative justice for youth, and on the next page there are 3 other proposed budget appropriations. So I will say that looking back at the reports that we have submitted, there's definitely some synergy between those reports and what these proposed appropriations are to be funded. So good things coming down the pike. I see back to you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Nash. And I appreciate the time and energy that the committee, staff included, have put into organizing the public hearing, soliciting comments and input from the public on how this money should be spent. Are there any questions from the board for the committee? Hearing none, then we'll move to our second committee report from the Permitting and Licensing Committee. I will turn the floor over to Commissioner NJ-CRC to provide that committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity to inform the public and also my fellow commissioners on some of the items that the committee has been working on in the last couple of months. First thing first, a quick update on extension requests. For the months of January through March, we've issued 50 conditional license extensions. The committee continues to review these extension requests, but please remember that applicants have to submit their request 15 days prior to the expiration date. That timeframe gives the committee enough time to review and also request additional information if needed. Next slide. So today I'm going to report our findings from last year's statewide hearing and focus groups, which were held to gather direct feedback on improving our licensing and permitting processes. I want to thank all the members of the public who signed up and participated in these discussions. On May 16, 2024, the committee held a statewide public hearing along with additional focus groups that were held in November. We spoke to social equity applicants, micro business applicants and licensees, and whole operational and non-operational licensees. These discussions revealed that while businesses appreciate their compliance officers and find our application process very straightforward, many are still facing challenges such as securing funding, getting municipal approvals, and hiring and retaining staff. These concerns align with those expressed in previous board meetings and by those conditional license holders requesting extensions. Though some issues are outside of the commission's control, the committee has identified 3 key areas where we can make improvements to help our cannabis businesses succeed. We are focusing on adjusting our regulations and policies to address these concerns. Next slide. The first one is to allow businesses to have cooperative purchasing agreements. Micro businesses, we heard you loud and clear, and they emphasize the need for discounted wholesale prices and bulk purchase and collaborations to ease that financial strain, especially for our local owned businesses. In addition, they recommended extending product expiration dates to help retailers cut inventory costs and reduce losses from expired products. Therefore, the committee is recommending that the commission issues guidance allowing cooperative purchasing agreements between dispensaries and cultivators, manufacturers, and wholesalers. The committee also suggests collaborating with the Office of Compliance and Investigations to establish guidance and review the alcohol industry rules as a possible model for cannabis CPAs. The committee also recommends amending our adult use rules to allow extended product expiration dates, that is deferring that to the Product Safety, Packaging and Labeling Committee to determine expiration timelines. Next slide. The second one is rescinding our provisional badging. So we learned from focus group discussions, and obviously from some of you at the public meetings, that individuals with past convictions who received provisional badges from the CRC were being terminated by their employers due to unmet background check requirements. Unfortunately, this is causing major disruptions for both employees and employers, forcing many businesses to adjust their schedule or hire additional staff. Additionally, this uncertainty makes it harder for businesses to hire and plan properly before becoming fully operational. Recently, our Director of Compliance and Investigations reported as of March 14, individuals with no criminal history are clear at the CRC in under 5 days, while those with non-disqualifying criminal histories are clearing under 12 days on average. Delays are occurring only if documentation is missing or resubmission to state police is needed. As a result, the committee is recommending that the commission removes provisional badges and rescinds resolution 2024-199. Next slide. Our third finding is giving early access to personal use cannabis business operational checklists. So some applicants did express confusion about whether certain facility features were optional or required. This was concerning as they have spent money that could have been otherwise saved for other expenses. Additionally, the need to modify build-up plans often delayed grand openings. For these reasons, this committee is recommending that the commission shares this personal use cannabis business operational checklist with applicants early in the licensing process rather than waiting until the final inspection. The checklist should also be posted on the CRC's website. Lastly, I would like to give a huge shout out and heartfelt thanks to all the staff that work with us with Chairwoman Wayno and I in this committee. That is Director Riggs, Chief Counsel, Megan, Paul, Wesley, and our communications teams for helping us get this to the finish line. And that concludes my report, unless you have anything else to add, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions my colleagues may have.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Costa, and thank you for your leadership in that committee, and getting this valuable feedback for our businesses, so that we can make sure that we are continuing to move the ball forward and make getting an operational cannabis business in New Jersey a reality. Are there any questions from the board for Commissioner Del Costa? Hearing none, we will move forward.
The next item up for consideration are amendments to the agency bylaws.
All right, so we had the ad hoc bylaws committee review the agency's bylaws to propose recommendations. For this, I will turn it over to Vice Chair Delgado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the ad hoc bylaws committee proposes changes in the following areas of the commission's bylaws for the sake of brevity and clarity. First area is meetings of the commission. As I said, for the sake of brevity, we've shortened section 4.04 quorum to read: a total of 3 commissioners shall constitute a quorum for all meetings of the commission. This shortens the sentence, Madam Chairwoman, from a longer sentence, which I do not have, not resolved. But that's what we're proposing for the amendment. On number 2, committees of the commission, Madam Chairwoman, the commission currently has 4 standing committees under section 505.5.02. Standing committee shall not be subject to resolution unless the commission has adopted a resolution amending section 5.02 to reflect the dissolution of the standing committee. We, under 1 audit committee, we've added a responsibility to that audit committee, that the audit committee shall be responsible for the development and approval of the commission's budget and review and monitoring of the commission's financial statement, the result of an audit, and 3, compliance of all legal and regulatory and ethical requirements. We've also added an additional standing committee, Madam Chairwoman. We've proposed an additional standing committee, the Underage Deterrence and Prevention Fund Committee, Madam Chairwoman, under section 5.02, the Underage Deterrence and Prevention Fund Committee, that will be responsible for making recommendations to the full board of commissioners on appropriations of money deposited in the Underage Deterrence and Prevention account and to fund private, for-profit, and non-profit organizations and county and municipal programs and services that are designed to improve and support youthful community activities to divert and prevent persons under 18 years of age from activities associated with consumption of cannabis items. That concludes our recommendation, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado. Are there any questions from the board regarding the proposed amendments that we have before us to the agency's bylaws? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the proposed amended changes to our bylaws.
Second. Moved by Vice Chair Delgado and seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Costa,
Yes.
Commissioner Mack,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wayno.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are applications for ownership changes.
Director Riggs, if you can, please provide us a summary of the applications for an ownership change.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and before I provide a summary, more ownership changes, more opportunities for financing, all that stuff is gonna start happening more and more. Majority ownership restrictions are restricted to 2 years. Some businesses are gonna be operational for 2 years, and you're gonna start seeing equity be transferred for money to the business. Under the law and regulations, any sale or transfer of equity in a business requires board approval. Today, we have 9 cannabis businesses that are proposing to transfer ownership. Blue Harvest, Divine Garden, Zena NJ, Peaches Garden LLC, Atlantic Flower LLC, Somerset Green LLC, Rooted LLC, Pantheon LLC, Earth and Ivy Lakers LLC. Each of these entities has satisfied the regulatory requirements for an ownership change. All owners and individuals and persons of interest are required to be investigated, vetted, or investigated and vetted by our Office of Compliance and Investigations. These individuals have to be qualified for the equity stake in the adult use market. Therefore, we are recommending that these ownership transfers be approved by the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Race. Any questions from the board for Director Race? I hear no questions from the board. Is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the request for transfers change of the ownership change of the 9 mentioned businesses by the acting executive director.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? I hear no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes. Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of adult use cannabis business conversion license applications.
Thank you. Director Race, floor is yours to provide a summary of the applications to convert from a conditional to an annual license.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today we have 4 conditional annual conversion licenses before the board, 3 retailers and 1 wholesaler. These licenses follow the licensing process. They were given a priority assignment where we've confirmed that each application is assigned to the appropriate review level as outlined in our regulations. We look at person-owned business status, taxes, residency required, and then cures are sent out if needed. That priority was then verified. We confirmed that the appropriate documentation was submitted to support the priority that they identified themselves as, and cures are also sent if something is needed. Then the application goes through what we call completeness review. That's when the licensing confirms that all required documents have been submitted. That means the application is deemed complete. And we confirm not only that they've been submitted, these documents, but we also confirm that all the required information has been filled out on these documents. Next, the applications are stored. These documents are then reviewed to ensure that the applicant has submitted sufficient information to satisfy all the requirements and regulations, and that notice of application acceptance. And we go over to the Office of Compliance and Investigation, we do a qualification review where the individuals, financial sources, any other agreements are reviewed for regulatory compliance, background checks are conducted and reviewed to ensure that any owners, persons, and interests are qualified to enter into the adult use market. Lastly, there's a quality control review done by the Office of Licensing, Office of Compliance and Investigation, and our legal team, and then we're making recommendations to the board. All these applications have been reviewed, scored, and are now recommended for approval by the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Race. Are there any questions from the board for Director Race? I hear no questions from the board. Is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept the consideration of applications to convert from conditional to annual Class 3 cannabis wholesaler and Class 5 cannabis retailer as detailed by the acting executive director.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to accept the applications? I hear no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Del Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of adult use cannabis business annual license applications.
Thank you. Director Race, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. There are 7 annual applications up for consideration, 3 manufacturers, 1 retailer, and 3 cultivators. These have followed the exact same licensing process as the conditional conversion applications. All the applications have been reviewed, scored, and are now recommended for approval by the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the resolution for consideration of an annual license application for class 1, 2, and 5 cannabis retailer licenses.
Moved by Commissioner Nash, is there a second?
I second.
And Vice Chair Delgado, I believe, got to it first. Is there any discussion on this motion? I hear no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda are the consideration of expanded alternative treatment center certifications.
Thank you. Here we have two expanded ATC certifications, starting with Columbia Care. Director Riggs, I'll give it to you to provide a summary.
Columbia Care has a classified retailer on the Black Horse Pike in Mays Landing, New Jersey. The address is located on the slide, and they are looking to expand into the adult use market. They have provided sufficient zoning and municipal approvals and have confirmed that the waiver requirements are met. And as required by law, they have certified that they have sufficient quantities of medical cannabis and medical cannabis products available to meet the reasonably anticipated needs of registered qualifying patients. Therefore, since they satisfy the regulations and statute, we are recommending approval of Columbia Care's application to expand into the adult use market. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs? There are no questions. Is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept the certification for Alternative Treatment Center Columbia Care to expand operations to the adult personal use cannabis market as detailed by the executive director.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion to accept the certification? I hear no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Abstain.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Abstain.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda, we have consideration of an expanded alternative treatment center application for GSCC Management LLC. Commissioner Nash has recused herself from this expansion application for GSCC Management LLC due to an ongoing professional relationship. On account of her recusal, she will step out of the room while the board considers this particular application. Afterward, Commissioner Nash will come back in and will take up the next order of business.
Thank you. Director Riggs, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. GSCC Management has a Class 1 cultivator license and is requesting adult use approval on Quarry Road in Oxford, New Jersey. They've requested and received zoning and municipal approvals, and we ensure that the waiver requirements are met. As required by the law, they certified they have sufficient quantities of medical cannabis and medical cannabis products available to meet the reasonably anticipated needs of registered qualifying patients. Therefore, we are recommending that GSCC Management be approved to expand into the adult use market. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept certification for Alternative Treatment Center GSCC Management LLC to expand operations in the adult personal use cannabis market as detailed by the acting executive.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to accept the certification? I hear no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash is recused. Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Abstain.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the adult use cannabis business annual license renewal applications.
Thank you. Director Riggs, can you please provide a summary of those applications to renew their annual license?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are 14 renewals up for consideration today. Ascend as 3. And each of the other entities listed have one license that is up for renewal, for adult use renewal. Similar to the licensing process, these licenses are effective for 1 year commissioners and are required to be reviewed and renewed annually. These entities have provided the required documentation for review and or for renewal. The documentation has been reviewed and approved by the Office of Compliance and Investigations. They have provided additional municipal support and approval if required after the first year of operations for an alternative treatment center. And therefore, we are recommending that all 14 of these licenses be renewed by the board today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept the resolution of renewal of 14 adult use cannabis business licenses as detailed by the acting executive director.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? I hear no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cipcoso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item for consideration are the determination of rehabilitation applications.
Thank you. I'll turn the floor over to Chief Counsel Twazon to provide a summary of these applications for determination of rehabilitation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, for the board's consideration is one application for rehabilitation. This individual is a TC employee. This individual received notice that criminal history check revealed a disqualifying conviction. This individual was given the opportunity to challenge the accuracy of the criminal history results or request rehabilitation. They did submit an application for rehabilitation, and staff believes that this individual met all 8 factors under the statute and the regs and recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Counsel Twazon. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the approval of request for termination of rehabilitation by alternative treatment center employees as detailed by the chief counsel.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cipcoso. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the request? I hear no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cipcoso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of requests for rule waivers.
I'll turn the floor back over to you, Chief Counsel Twazon, to provide a summary of the request for regulatory rule waivers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, the board will be considering 2 rule waiver requests. Next slide, please. They are docketed as WR-012 and WR-013. The entity names are Treehouse Co-op Dispensary and Green Wellness Haven. They both have the same request to waive the retail storage requirements to allow for storage of cannabis merchandise behind the sales counter. The standard is a very strict standard to waive a regulatory requirement. So the board has to determine whether the use of waiver request would meet the regulatory requirements under 17:30-3.7. The 3 factors are that a waiver would be necessary to achieve the purpose of the act, which is our enabling statute, the CLEAN Act. The second is it's necessary to provide access to cannabis items to consumers, and the third is that it would not create a danger to the public health, safety, or welfare. So the applicable regulation at hand that the board should consider is under 17:30:9.12, which describes that cannabis storage must have adequate security, and typically in a dispensary, they have storage in a vault area that's separate from the cannabis counter. So the board should determine whether these waiver requests would meet that regulatory standard, or if not, they would be willing to waive the regulation based on those factors under 3.7. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Are there any questions from the board?
Yes.
Commissioner Nash?
I wanted to know, the pictures that were posted look like open shelving, and my vision, what was described in the SOP was kind of like a locked glass case with a lock on, and so explain the difference between what was described and what we saw in the pictures.
Well, we did have some outreach through our investigations team to both entities. That was what the board had received. Those photos were the extent of what they had given. So it was that kind of shelving that they described. They did say it would be locked. It would be locked, but the board should determine whether it would meet the regulatory requirements, which is adequate security, and generally that adequate security would mean it would be in a separate location.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Any other questions for Chief Counsel? Is there a motion on this matter? And what this will be, we'll consider both of the waiver requests together.
Madam Chair, I move to deny both waiver requests.
Commissioner Nash has moved to deny the waiver request. Is there a second? I will second the motion. Is there any discussion on this motion to deny the waiver requests?
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
So we, as Chief Counsel laid out, there are certain forms of regulatory requirements, whether the waiver is necessary to achieve the purpose of the act, is it necessary to provide access to cannabis items to consumers, and that it does not create a danger to public health, safety, or welfare. So it's not necessary to have this type of storage to achieve the purpose of the act, nor is it necessary to be able to provide access to consumers. And I think it does create a danger to public health, safety, or welfare of the employees. What I saw was an open shelf and no locks on it, and I think somebody just hop across the counter and smash and grab. So that is my reason for my denial.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. I agree with you. I believe that the waiver requests they fail to articulate a necessity to meet the purposes of the CREAM Act. They also fail to demonstrate that a waiver is necessary to provide access to consumers, as both of these businesses are currently selling cannabis products to consumers. And I believe the requirements under Rule 9.12 are there for a reason, and it is to make sure that our businesses are operating in a secure fashion. We have cannabis businesses across the country have experienced break-ins and thefts. And so by putting products out in the open with no real guardrails or real barriers that that can be easily overcome by just hopping over a countertop height single plywood barrier just is not sufficient to actually provide security for these regulated products. So I'm supportive of denying these waiver requests. Any further discussion on this motion?
So I see.
Commissioner Mack.
Yes. I see the issue as temptation and public safety awareness. Sorry. I see the issue as temptation, public safety awareness, and easy access to customers. Why is it that an organization cannot go back where they're supposed to go into the safe and get the product and have it open to, for others to come and take? So that's my reason for voting the I will vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Mack. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Coso,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
No. To deny, I will deny, yes.
okay. Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion to deny the waiver request is approved. The next item on the agenda are the consideration of notices of enforcement actions.
And here we have one notice of enforcement action that's on the agenda today. For those following from home, we did have an agenda change yesterday, so on our website, we did have two other notices of violation that were initially going to be considered. We pulled those, so that we considered at a future board meeting. So for today, we will consider NOV 20724. So I will turn the floor over to you, Director Riggs, to provide a summary of the violation that was cited.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So Garden Society Investigation 207-24, they were issued an NOV on November 20th of 2024. Essentially, there was a violation of employee badging that determined that an individual did not go through the badging process and had been employed by the entity without going through the proper channels and being background checked by the CRC. And it was even further, they self-reported this violation, which stemmed from this employee that was not badged, was selling illegal marijuana, unregulated marijuana, to other employees in the entity. And the business self-reported. They did tell us that this individual was caught doing this, needed to be terminated, and during the investigation, our investigators determined that when they were going to deactivate the badge for this individual, they were not in our system. So now it was issued for failing to the entity for failing to make sure that their employees properly went through the process to have their employees background checked and deemed qualified to engage in the marketplace. So therefore, there was an enforcement action before you, and our regulations determined that failing to properly have employees badged would be a category 4 violation, which is before the board today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter? I will make a motion to impose a penalty of $8,000 on the Garden Society LLC. Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion? I'll note that I agree with staff's interpretation that, or staff's view that this particular act counts as a category 4 violation. The penalty, I believe that the penalty should be reduced from our starting point of $10,000 to account for the self-reporting. I recognize the response, the quick response that this employer had to correct the issue, deal with the employees on an administrative level, and then also self-report to the commission. So I give them credit for that. Also, I appreciated the effort for the business to amend their SOP, their internal SOPs for hiring new employees to make sure that they have a step that explicitly calls out the need for making sure that a prospective new employee would be, has been fingerprinted and gone through the background check process, or alternatively given a provisional badge. But still, this employer had a few employees that had not gone through the badging process, the background check process as required, and for that reason, I think $8,000 is a reasonable and justified penalty for this business. Is there any additional discussion on this motion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Coso,
No.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wayno.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda, we have the open public comment period.
So as we begin our public comment period, I will remind folks, as I do every board meeting, that you can submit public comments during or after this board meeting in writing via our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. The deadline for submitting written comments for today's board meeting is 5:00 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, April 4th. Written comments will be shared with the commission members and will be made public. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We have our timer here that will beep once your time is up. If you hear the beep, just please wrap up your comments so that we can ensure that everybody who has registered to speak has an opportunity to do so. Mr. Said will call out the names of our registered speakers. When it is your turn to speak, what we ask that you come down at the microphone, just tap the button that says push one time so that you see a green light, and then the microphone is on and you will have the floor. Mr. Said, can you please call on our first speakers?
Thank you, Chairwoman. As a reminder, public speakers during this afternoon's public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and concise during your comments. I will start with the in-person, the people that signed up to speak in person. The first person is Reginald Green. The next person is Alan Truskowski. Next person is Thomas Norcia. Just state your name, please.
Thomas Norcia from Waivers, New Jersey Hemp Growers Association. Honestly, I don't even know where to start right now. I'm going to start with our email chain for you guys. So I'll start with the psychoactive campaign. Dave, this is an email from you. Diana, this is an email from you. Right here's an email from John Kirk from the hemp program. Based on your guys' definitions, you're allowing your operators to break the New Jersey state law. It's clear as day right here. We had meetings with the Department of Agriculture and you guys a day apart for that reason. You guys submitted something that were voiced to them that it's from your distillate in your program. That's not happening. It's not happening. Here's a list. I know this might look a chicken scratch to you. These are all different brands. I'm leaving this with you guys today. These are brands that are all bringing hemp-derived products over state lines. They're not regulated from the Department of Agriculture. I've been bringing this up for months now, guys. This is pathetic. You know, these are what's in the products. You can't tell me that they're getting this from your THC material. It's not happening. You're continuing to allow them to break the laws. Here's the website, New Jersey Department of Agriculture. All you gotta do is click it. Here are the applications, rules, regulations for all of it. You guys, Riggs, you should know this by the back of your hand, regardless if it's you or John Kerr. Me and Chief Man just sat with John Kerr before here. We speak with these guys regularly. You guys are not putting the voice out into the state to get us into the measure that we need to be. This is a bit pathetic at this point. Just wait. We are more regulated than you. Our products are more compliant than some of yours. The only thing my products don't have on them is a metric number. You know, it's not fair the situation we're in. You guys just continually letting these people bring this stuff over state lines. You're the regulatory commission. When are you gonna regulate it? When? While we sit here and don't have access to our products. Speak to legislative leadership to get this go through. You guys clearly aren't, because I've had hundreds of emails in the last few weeks. We've met with so many people, it's ridiculous. And none of them know the situation we're in. They're clueless. So I spend an hour educating people in our meeting before we even get to do anything. You guys are not reaching out to the right people to do this stuff the right way. We've seen several drafts of a psychoactive hemp ban bill. It's pathetic of what we're seeing. It's pathetic that we're 6 months into the psychoactive hemp ban bill and they're clueless to the New Jersey hemp program. The New Jersey hemp program was not breaking laws. Stuff coming over state lines is breaking laws. The stuff in gas stations and smoke shops is breaking laws. 90%, it's still there. There's a liquor store in my town selling hemp beverages. I can't sell my own products properly. It's beyond pathetic. 10 seconds. I'm speaking for 38 hemp growers that couldn't be here today. It's a bit pathetic. You let your lobbyists come on here, exceed 3 minutes, and they keep going. And another thing, your lobbyists, your lawyers working with these leadership people are clueless. Who's lining their pockets? That's who they're speaking with. They're clueless. The drafts that we are seeing right now are insane. Karavinchek's bill, 5068, is the only one that makes sense to us. Act, guys, do something. If you are a regulatory commission, regulate. Riggs, I'm gonna hand this to you personally.
I got it. I'll take it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God, it's pathetic.
So I will say there's an issue with the clock, so I'm gonna use my phone to show you guys that there's a 3-minute timer. The next person on the list is Jessica Marie Villers.
Is this on? I'm Jesse Marie Villers, majority owner and CEO of Baked by the River Dispensary. I'm here today to discuss cannabis educational and community events that my dispensary would like to support. We have previously sponsored educational events and did everything we could do to try and do our due diligence to make sure these events were compliant with state regulations. Moving forward, we'd be grateful to be able to engage in conversation with CRC to confirm we're following compliance protocols for product sampling and event sponsorship to avoid any possible violation notice. We'd also be grateful for the opportunity to provide feedback to the CRC based on business and consumer feedback we've received regarding the benefits of these types of events and how we can improve them. We want to sponsor events in line with what we've seen many other licensed cannabis businesses across the state sponsor and participate in, including events I've seen CRC commissioners attend and support. Baked by the River started for the purpose of being a harm reduction resource. Part of the mission of Baked by the River is to reduce stigma around cannabis and cannabis consumption in order to promote the safer alternative. At the vast majority of cannabis events in the state, there is free alcohol available and regular alcohol consumption. Plainly allowing untracked alcohol consumption while not permitting cannabis consumption results in the CRC endorsing alcohol as the only acceptable standard for cannabis industry events. This precedent only serves to reinforce a harmful stigma that hurts this industry and frankly does not make sense. An issue that was highlighted in the violation notice my dispensary received was that sampling with the purpose of business promotion is not allowed. But bringing cannabis to an event to consume shouldn't in and of itself be considered unlawful business promotion. It's just like any other event I go to and need some relief at. I bring some good weed to smoke. It would be like me telling it'd be like telling a CEO of Budweiser that if they're hosting a barbecue, they're not allowed to bring a cooler of Bud Light to consume because it's considered promotion of the business. I am a cannabis activist, a medical patient, and a regular cannabis consumer. It goes against everything I stand for to re-stigmatize cannabis and tell me that I'm not allowed to consume weed from my store in the same way that an alcohol distributor consumes alcohol. To tell me I cannot bring cannabis to an event that I sponsor forces my cannabis consumption back into the shadows. I'm a cannabis advocate and a consumer, as are the vast majority of people I deal with in this industry. Cannabis advocates benefit from being able to talk about, see, smell, touch, and try the cannabis products we are discussing. My standards for my dispensary is that I won't sell products that I won't smoke myself. Having the ability to experience the products we're selling is critical for better quality products and consumer safety. As the industry is expanding, it's important that the CRC is giving clear guidance, setting reasonable standards, and supporting the licensed businesses that are trying to navigate this new landscape. We ask that you include us in the conversation and would be grateful to receive your guidance and or feedback instead of having to fear punishment. We're all trying to figure this out in the first years of our businesses being open, and at the beginning stages of an industry in the state. Well, by working with us, you can come together to set reasonable standards that help the industry work better and benefit the public at large. I'd really appreciate the opportunity to schedule a follow-up conversation to make sure everything we're doing is in compliance, especially with all of the events that I have following this month. So thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Van Riker.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Van Riker, my pronouns are he. I am here to urge the commission to hold Curaleaf accountable for its failure to comply with New Jersey's cannabis laws and labor protections, starting with denying the issuance of any temporary worker badges in the future. New Jersey's cannabis industry was founded on a commitment to fair labor practices, worker protections, and corporate accountability. Granting any temporary badges undermines that foundation, opening the door to worker exploitation, job insecurity, and lower workplace standards. The people who keep this industry running deserve stability, full labor protections, and the opportunity to build meaningful careers, not to be treated as disposable. It has been years since Curaleaf was instructed to secure a union contract within 200 days. Since then, conditions have only worsened, hours have been cut, schedules constantly disrupted, and mass layoffs have upended lives. Employees face unfair and illegal scheduling practices, while contract negotiations remain stagnant. Instead of bargaining in good faith, Curaleaf seeks to strip away long-standing protections and refuses a fair wage increase. Many workers have gone years without a raise, and just this week, more were abruptly let go, denying them the ratification bonuses they rightfully earn upon ratification of a union contract. Enough is enough. Curaleaf must be held accountable to the laws and regulations set forth by the state of New Jersey. I urge the commission to deny any requests for temporary worker badges in the future. Doing so will help ensure that the workers who remain can fully utilize every tool at their disposal to push Curaleaf to the bargaining table in true good faith. Additionally, I call on the commission to take meaningful action to enforce compliance. Curaleaf must be held to the same standards as every other operator in the state. New Jersey's cannabis industry should be a model for fairness and equity. We cannot allow corporations to cut corners and disregard workers' rights. The integrity of this industry and the well-being of the people who power it depend on your leadership. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Chief Vincent Mann.
Good morning, good afternoon. It's been a long ride. Route 80 shut down. I'm just going to direct all my comments directly to this side of this table. I'm glad that you're here, Mr. Urbish. So, what you heard from TJ was that there continues to be the unlawful, right, use of CBD distillate. In this email, I'm not going to say which from, I'm just going to read it. This was the explanation that was given to us from council. The commission has permitted CBD distillate to be used as an ingredient in cannabis-infused products so long as the product is derived from cannabis. So I'm letting you all know right now on this record that if you do not take the steps to hold those people who are using hemp-derived products in their cannabis products that are being sold, then we will take action further. There is no reason whatsoever that we get a definition that explains to us what the definition of hemp, medical cannabis, which is not cannabis, and hemp that's not cannabis. You can't call the sun the moon. We are entitled, as people who are living in the same boundaries as everybody else, to have the right to prosper, to benefit. And yet you guys are sitting on your hands, allowing these companies to get away with it. And it's illegal. They do not have a hemp license. It's illegal for them to use hemp-derived products. Outside of the fact that your law states it's illegal. It's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal. You all know my email address. You all have access to my phone number. Same thing with TJ. You heard him. We're going around having to be politicians. We're not politicians. It's crazy when you have to have a farmer come from Sussex, New Jersey, the furthest point north, to have to drive all the way down here so our voices can be heard. We have to take away time from our farming to go meet with senators and assembly people. And yet our voices are still not heard. We were never a part of any legal action against the state of New Jersey or this commission. And if you guys do the right thing by holding those people accountable under your law, then that will never happen. It has to stop. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Kristen Good.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kristen Godey, and I'm here as the chair of the New Jersey Cannabis Association's Laboratory Testing Committee. First, we want to congratulate and thank you for issuing state-specific testing guidance. While there's still a lot of work to be done, this is a significant step towards harmonizing testing practices within New Jersey. However, we must go further. Today, I'm here to highlight a critical issue, the urgent need for robust laboratory governance to prevent fraud and safeguard public health. THC inflation and the underreporting of product contamination are widespread issues across nearly all cannabis markets. And as recent public reports have shown, New Jersey is no exception. To address this, we urge the Commission to prioritize the following 10 key components of the laboratory oversight program. 1, public data transparency. Regularly release available testing data to promote accountability. 2, data evaluation and statistical analysis. Establish a program to analyze data across laboratories, flagging inconsistencies in THC concentrations and failure rates. 3, ethics and data integrity training. Mandate training for all lab workers and implement anonymous reporting mechanisms. 4, qualified oversight. Hire at least 1 chemist and 1 microbiologist to audit licensed laboratories and ensure appropriate testing methods are used. 5, unannounced lab audits. Conduct surprise inspections to detect fraud and uphold data integrity. 6, laboratory monitoring. Monitor laboratory proficiency by reviewing proficiency testing results and SOPs to ensure accuracy and reliability. 7, define quality standards. Establish clear parameters for quality assurance, quality control, calibration, and detection limits. 8, inter-laboratory testing program. Measure variability and ensure consistency in results across state licensed laboratories with round-robin testing. 9, secret shopper testing. Implement a post-compliance testing program to verify product accuracy and safety with off-the-shelf testing. 10, reference laboratory. Designate an independent reference lab either within the state DOH labs or through an RFP process for qualified alternatives. Together, these measures form a comprehensive laboratory governance framework that deters fraud and promotes accurate testing and protects public health. Without them, lab shopping will continue, undermining consumer trust and compromising safety. We urge the Commission to act swiftly and decisively to implement these recommendations. The integrity of our market and the well-being of consumers and patients depend on it. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Samuel Reichart. That's it for the in-person. I'm gonna move on.
That's not, I'm on it. I'm definitely on it.
What's your name?
Nicholas Powers. I have it written down, I'll be really quick. It's really important.
I have you as in the phone.
No, I clicked in person and I did it phone.
Your last one to do was in phone.
Okay.
Hold on, everybody, hold on.
Let him call for.
Hold on. All right, so for your awareness, for the future, anybody who signs up to speak needs to select in person or giving testimony via phone. Some people have registered to speak multiple times. In those instances, we are left to select to really go with the latest submission. So what has happened many times in the past is that people have registered to speak up, to speak in person, and then later they, for any reason, are joining telephonically, and so they register to speak by phone. That is why your name is under our list as by phone probably. Now, given that you're here, you've identified yourself, we can proceed with you, accepting your testimony here today. But for the future, make sure that you're selecting one or the other, or else we're gonna have no choice but to take whichever was the last submission that you gave us, all right? So, come on up, you'll have your 3 minutes, and then we'll move to, those businesses that have, those individuals who've registered to speak telephonically.
Just to clarify, on Monday at 9:48, when I did it, I applied for in person, it said when? March 6th, 2025. So that's why I had to do it again, because it inappropriately gave me last month's meeting when I did it.
I understand,
Just wanna
okay,
make sure.
that makes sense, understood, thank you.
Okay, I have it all written down. I've practiced to be under 3 minutes.
If you can, just make sure that you're speaking to the microphone so our stenographer can keep everything, thank you.
Sorry for that. All right, my name is Nicholas Powers from NJ-CRC. Good afternoon, everyone. Please carefully listen to every word of this traumatizing, life-ruining nightmare I'm living through, and think to all yourselves, this is of course something we can correct. I am Nicholas Powers, CEO and founder of NJ-CRC. 3 years ago, when I was 21, I applied for a micro class 1 cultivation license and a micro class 2 manufacturing license as a social equity New Jersey born raised applicant. I was arrested twice while in high school for cannabis and completed 2 different drug rehab programs, all while being in high school and working full-time hours. Both arrests bankrupted me and put me in debt. No one in my family even knows about these arrests, for the record. That's how private this was. In March of 2022, I received both conditional licenses. From then on, I spent the year driving throughout the state, getting chewed up and spit out by numerous towns and landlords in New Jersey for one reason or another, as Wesley and many of you have heard in person at all the meetings since the beginning of the CRC. In June 2023, after a whole year of 100+ hour unpaid work weeks with no other job, I finally found a location and township support in West Milford just when failure fell inevitable, and I applied for both micro licenses to be converted to an annual license in August 2023. I've shifted my focus to raising funds, which was extremely difficult, particularly for someone like me, whose family and friends are working class folks with no savings and no ability to invest in my dream. I grew up in a house where every month I knew the day of the month because the cable was out and the Wi-Fi was out. We paid one payment on a mortgage and we foreclosed the house. It took me nearly a year, but I successfully raised $3 million from over 20 investors. A condition of my being able to spend the investor fund, however, was that I received the CRC's approval to convert both licenses to annual. In February 2024, I received the CRC's approval to convert from conditional to annual for both micro, class 1 and class 2 applications. This permitted me to start spending the investors' money on the cultivation and manufacturing facility. All of my financial source agreements were submitted to the CRC and approved. Just this week, I passed all inspections needed to get my certificate of occupancy and had plans with my investigator to do both my financial inspections. Final inspections this week. After being told all financial investigations have been passed, after being voted in at meetings like this, that I followed all the rules. To date, I have spent virtually the entire $3 million and I'm literally weeks away from opening up. However, 2 weeks ago, at 11:31 p.m., the CRC emailed me casually informing me that I need to vacate one of my licenses which is beyond shocking and gut-wrenching, to just casually ask me to drop one of my licenses after receiving approval from the CRC for both licenses, spending $3 million, getting EDA grants, working with all of you very closely. You suddenly changed your mind and didn't even inform your own investigators, your field monitors. None of you knew what was going on except for licensing at 11:31 on a Thursday. I thought the CRC was trying to help the social equity micro applicant, and this is just, I've lost nothing but sleep since the time then, and you've let fully integrated micro cultivators and manufacturers operate the same as myself. There's a 0% chance this is gonna go the way you said, right? Or I'm gonna actually have to give away one of my licenses after everything we've been through, being approved by all of you at multiple meetings. Now you change your mind and all of a sudden I have to give up one of my licenses 2 weeks before my final inspection. My investigator doesn't know, my field monitor doesn't know, no one's investigator knows. I get it, if you change the rules, that's fine, but keep in mind, there's gotta be something you can do for someone like me in this exact position with everything I have on the line. Is my time up? My time's up? I have a little bit more to say, but I'm just saying, you created the rules, you have the authority to change them. Why should I be punished? My life ruined for your mistake. That wasn't even a mistake. You just changed your mind. You've allowed other people to do what I'm talking about doing. Okay, well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And just keep in mind, I was in that EDA grant and I've been a part of every single aspect of what you're talking about. I've lived this. This has been my whole journey. And you guys are like turning your back on me literally at the 11th hour, 59th minute. Thank you guys, and I appreciate it, and sorry for the confusion. So thank you guys. I trust you'll do the right thing. Hopefully, praying to God every night about it. Thank you. Thank you.
Moving to the virtual callers. The next person is James Ferrin. Last four of the telephone number is 7789. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person is Daniel McCarthy. Last four is 7518. All right, I see you, Dan. Just give me a second. Dan, just unmute and you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Dan McCarthy. I'm actually experiencing the same situation as the last person who spoke. It's been 3 years now that since I've gotten my conditional licenses, and luckily I've been able to secure a property, get municipal approval, and I'm nearly completed with construction. I'm hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into this, my life savings, and I was granted conditional licenses for micro business, cultivation, and manufacturing. And I got the same email about a week ago saying that I need to only choose one of them moving forward because there's been a change in the interpretation of the law. I just want to echo what the last person said. I understand rules change, but to give multiple companies conditional licenses, knowing that it's been allowed in the past for micro businesses to operate cultivation and manufacturing facilities, and then to switch it last minute after the money has been invested, after the 3 years of hard work and getting approvals is accomplished. I hope that there's a way that people or companies that have been granted conditional application licenses and have come this far in the process, that we will be able to open. Knowing that other companies are actively operating cultivation and manufacturing. I saw a long list, including like Full Tilt Labs, a couple other companies. So we know it happened in the past. We hope that it can happen for people like ourselves who have followed all the rules, overcame all the hurdles. I hope that someone could be in touch from the CRC instead of just the nameless licensing email, without even having someone to really, take accountability for these decisions. It's tough getting just a random email with that, not even signed by someone's name, just saying, hey, pick one of your licenses. We're gonna get rid of the other one.
1
So-
minute, Dan.
I just hope that hopefully we can come to a solution for people who've invested hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars and put in the time and effort to meet all of the qualifications and even being a social equity applicant and a micro business. That's what the CRC says they're all about is, you know, the little companies that have been affected, been arrested for having $5 worth of cannabis going to the beach. So just hope that there's a resolution that allows applicants to get their conversion licenses for both manufacturing and cultivation as you've done in the past. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. The next person on the list is Shirali Patel. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. All right, I see you, Shirali. Just unmute yourself, and you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Shirali Patel. I'm commenting today to address the CRC's position on vertical integration for micro licenses, which represents a significant regulatory breach of trust. For years, the CRC has explicitly communicated that adult use licensees could pursue vertical integration after February 2023, as evidenced by official licenses issued to micro licenses seeking vertical integration, published guidance materials, FAQs. The CRC's current website to date right now displays a graphic specifically stating all recreational license holders can have one business in each class. Nothing specifically about micros. A few weeks ago, letters were emailed to micro licenses that were already awarded annual licenses stating, based on your initial review, that alone is absurd because it can't be an initial review when you've issued these licenses over a year plus ago. Your reinterpretation contradicts your own regulatory framework. While you cited NJ-CRC 17:30-6.8U as prohibitive, the CRC omits NJ-CRC 17:30-6.8E and D, which explicitly permit vertical integration for all licenses. The selective citation of regulations undermines regulatory consistency and transparency. The CRC has accepted and processed conversion fees for vertically integrated micro licenses. You've taken background investigation fees, approved and processed operational agreements, including financial source agreements, management source agreements, all standard regulatory procedures without an objection to date. The commission's already permitted, to my knowledge, at least 2 vertically integrated micro businesses to become operational, Full Tilt Labs and Prolific Grow House, which are operational. After the fact, this determination to say that micro businesses conveniently cannot be vertically integrated, it just doesn't make any sense to characterize it as initial reviews, to direct licensees to abandon one license with no consideration of what they've gone through. 100% New Jersey-owned entities, they had to raise dollars. It's totally inconsistent with what's happening across the board. I have to have, I have to understand your stance on this, because right now, I'm completely mind blown to have individuals come to me and say, I can be sued by my investors. I can lose everything that I've risked. I don't understand. All I can say is that your current position, it's a failure of procedural due process. I urge you to immediately rectify this regulatory inconsistency and to honor what you've said before, which is the guidance and practices and determinations you've made on awarding micro licenses to be vertically integrated. It has to make sense for once. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Edward Grimes. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Edward Grimes. All right, I see you, Edward. Give me a second. Just unmute yourself, and you have the floor.
Good afternoon. I'm Edward Lefty Grimes from sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 fighting for cannabis patients' rights and the rights of the disabled. And I think there's a lot of room for growth here in New Jersey. In New York, they're talking about having kiosks for events, like if you have a baseball game, can have a cannabis kiosk and get, I guess, edibles and tinctures, or I guess even smokables. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but they're way ahead of us in the game here, and they were way behind us in the beginning. Now they're way ahead. They have homegrown in New York. Patients with horrible disabilities and diseases can grow their own cannabis in New York, but here in New Jersey, we're still floundering. We need specific rules for dab bars and for private events, because we don't want to see people caught up in people that are trying to follow the law. People like Baked by the River that are trying to follow the law to the T, and I just want to make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. I know everybody's trying to follow the law, and we need to know what the laws are and these guidelines are. It's not a police issue, I guess, with the pennying out of the dabs. It's a enforcement issue with the CRC. So how do companies sponsor these dab bars? I think that's the big question: is how does the company sponsor a dab bar legally and allow us to share our cannabis? Because if you're an employee, apparently you can't give your trade samples out to the public. So if you go in on a blunt with someone and you put some of your trade sample in, I guess that entire blunt would be illegal. I don't know. These things have to be mitigated, but these are the things that really don't need to be mitigated. I would say no mens rea, and let's move on and legalize this plant and just stop the
1 minute.
This is not how I grew up smoking cannabis, but I need to know parameters. It would help to have the parameters that we need to follow. So thank you. And also we need wheelchair access. Again, disabled vets cannot get into every dispensary. I believe you have some grant money. Grant money should be used to have wheelchair access for every disabled vet and every disabled person in New Jersey to get into every dispensary. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Chris Goldstein. Chris Goldstein. Last four of the telephone number is 5278. All right, the next person is William Caruso. Last four is 3096. William Caruso. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. All right, next person is Molly Lustig. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. All right, I see you, Molly. Just unmute yourself and you have the floor, and I'll give a 1 minute warning.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So the micro business issue, Shirali said it all. I don't need to waste anybody's time on that. Really looking for immediate action on that. She characterized that perfectly well. There are two things that I do want to address today really quickly. One is a potential universal waiver of the location change fee during a very specific time. And that time period would be following approval of a resolution of support for a conversion or an annual license from the CRC and before a business's doors are open. We are having a lot of applicants who apply to the CRC with a location. And we're not talking on a conditional, we're talking with a contract, purchase and sale agreement or lease agreement. And for some reason, that location does not pan out. And a business that's getting ready to open their doors, struggling with many of the other regulatory hurdles, is now faced with a $10,000 business location change fee, and that just puts some of these operators over the edge. So I would like the commission to consider that just in that short time period. Of course, following annual licensure, opening of doors, there are administrative costs that would need to be accounted for in that process. And actually, I'm gonna not comment on the second one. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Molly. The next person on the list is Andrea Rabel. Last four is 0229. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Andrea Rabel. I'm just gonna go over the list one more time. Reginald Green. Alan Truskowski. Samuel Reichbart. James Ferrin. Daniel McCarthy. Chris Goldstein. William Caruso. Andrea Rabel. Chairwoman, this will conclude the registered speakers we have for today's public meeting.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts, their suggestions, their recommendations, and their experiences. As a reminder, anybody can submit written comments, no length maximum there. On our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. If you want to submit written comments, the deadline to submit those comments is 5 o'clock tomorrow, Friday, April 4th. And so this concludes the business that we have before us today. Before I make a motion, before I move to adjourn, I do want to recognize and acknowledge. When it comes to legal issues, we do take those seriously at the commission. And the issues that have been presented and commented on by our several commenters, just know that we are going to be working through it and we will bring it to a resolution and we'll make sure everybody is up to speed and understands what comes next, right? So I just want to make that very clear for folks. I do not want us to leave folks in the dark with questions unanswered. So those answers will be coming. Please be patient with us, but they will be coming to you. Now, with that, I move that we adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. I was worried for a second that the board wanted to stay a little longer. Any discussion on this motion to adjourn? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of adjourning say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. The time is 3:35 p.m. and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.